Hello, hello, folks. Just a little bit of my morning research I wanted to share. And I just had to laugh. Look at this. I was zoomed in here. I'll zoom out. This is the Wikipedia page for the spacewalks. And yeah, they're showing that these guys, I don't know when this was. They really don't give much information. They don't really give very much information on all these spacewalks, but let's just take a look at this photo. Oh, yeah, they had to get that blue ball in there, didn't they? In the sun, is that what that is? Wow, what great angles. These, I don't know, maybe they're cameras mounted on the outside of the ISS that took this photo. You can see, I think that's supposed to be like the sun and the edge of the ISS coming out over the Earth. Let's take a look at some of the equipment. And this is where I just I just can't. Even with this, you guys. Okay. Look at what is this? What is this even? I mean, did somebody just super glue some hair ties to these hoses that are connected? I think they're connected to like a tool. This must be like a space tool because you see more. They're all strapped on. Oh, and here's their instructions. This is, some space paper. I remember I used to sell the space pen. Was invented to write under any conditions, underwater, which is so funny because I think this all started underwater. And that was the thing about the space pen, is that they could write underwater. Which, it never made sense to me. They were like, it had to be in a high pressure vacuum. It's a special pen because there's no gravity to pull the ink downward. But they can write underwater. That's their special feature. That's how it applies to us and how we can mass market this to individuals. Anyways, let's finish looking at these tools here. I mean, honestly, if you were on eBay looking for a tool, a survival tool, and they were like, this tool does 20 jobs, and you saw this, and you were like, okay, well, it obviously has some stuff in here, and for some reason it's hooked up to, I don't know, what is this, a power cord, but also seems like taped. I mean, this literally looks like electrical tape right here holding this copper wire around here. You gotta have a bungee because everything's floating though, right? So here's all the bungees. I mean, I just don't think I would buy it. I would think it was a gimmick if I saw this on eBay. I mean, all of this is obviously just cheap aluminum and plastic. This is plastic, you guys. This is plastic. I mean, I don't think there's much in terms of... Okay, look at this one. Oh my gosh, look at this one. What is this? I'm sorry, guys, but you gotta take an honest look at this. This is like the worst 80s like costume ever. Oh, look at these grabbers. These are probably so handy out in space. You just like grab stuff with them. Since you can't use your hands because you're in a giant bubble suit. I mean, what are these? Nobody would design this out in space with tools that could get caught on these loose wires? I mean, you guys, come on. With the amount of stuff they have to have strapped down, don't you think that these engineers would streamline things? I'm sorry, but this is just ridiculous. This is obviously a staged photograph to brainwash exactly this blue ball lie and perpetuate it. Okay. So now that we've sufficiently made fun of this photograph, I found this photograph taking a look. I was watching a video of Bob Skiba, and he was talking about how all of the rockets go right basically into the Bermuda Triangle. And so I decided, he said, hey, maybe you should look up, somebody should look up if there's a correlation with the dates. And I just decided to. So I just decided to look up, this is both on Wikipedia, the aircraft incidents, and the list of NASA missions. Now, this is the interesting thing about these missions. I can't really get, this isn't like a deep dive study on the comparative on the two, because this does not give the dates. It just gives the start date of the program, the year that the first crewed flight, but not a date, I mean, not a month and day, the day it ended, and how many people, whatever. So I couldn't really exactly compare all of the exact dates, but in any case, it's just interesting when you get interested in a subject. It's just good to explore because you never know what you might find. So the first thing I found here was the first date of basically NASA. It says NASA, this is the top of the Wikipedia page here. So here it shows the X-Plane program is the first thing that you come to on this page. And it says since 1945, NACA, which was NASA's predecessor, and since 1958, NASA has conducted X-Plane programs. So both of these space agencies, which are the same, they just renamed themselves, which started in 1945, and then NASA officially in 1958. So they both conducted this X-Plane program. So that's what this whole thing started out with, was these X-Planes. And you see that in 1947, so just a couple years after NACA started, the first rocket-powered airplane to break the sound barrier. So pretty much within the first 2 years, this flight plane agency did some pretty phenomenal, had some phenomenal breakthroughs. And you see pretty quickly when you do any kind of digging into NASA that it's just a whole lot of nothing. So let's take a look at the first incident in Bermuda, and just noting that it started in 1945, and then interesting to note that the first aircraft incident in Bermuda was the same year. So that is interesting to know. And the next mission you don't have starting until 1958. So I also wanted to note that before 1958, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 incidents, aircraft incidents, between the time that this place began and their very first, well, actually it shows the first crewed flight wasn't until 61, but still you have 7, because that was at 61. So in between here is when the first manned crewed flight. So you got seven before, incidents before, and then you have 9 incidents after. So that's kind of interesting. There was a lot happening in the air just before we went to the moon. Just before that, right? And then we have 65, 68, 73. 65, 68, and 73. So yeah, I mean, there are some correlations with dates, but I don't know that they're exact dates. You know, and who knows? Who knows? Maybe some of them were, but I just think that the land not being anything that they tell us, I don't believe the maps. And what really is the Bermuda Triangle? Is it a place that people are going and disappearing because there's something that they don't want let out that's there? There's there a passageway there? Or, I mean, what is it? There's got to be something there that they don't want us to see. So then if you come down and look at the incidents at sea, I thought it was very interesting that the first one they tell us is in 1492 when Columbus saw unknown lights one day before the landing of Gunahani. Okay. I mean, I just don't know what to make of this whole thing. October 11th. It just is, you know, he saw lights there. Like maybe it was another ship, you know? Like, I don't know. This just doesn't seem noteworthy to be placed in an incident. Yet, the beginning, this 1492 of our country, which I believe to be a complete and total bogus lie. I don't even know if this guy even existed. Okay? 1492, this is where they're putting these in. I mean, to me, this is just telling us that this whole narrative was written by these people. So, not that I believe any of this. I just think that it is good to take into our understanding the narrative and the details of it, because I believe there is a lot of truth in there. That's the best lie. It has some truth in it, and then they corrupt it. So it's just best to ask Spirit for wisdom and discernment as we're looking into these things. But, you know, that's kind of a red flag there. But anyway, so then you got a bunch right in the beginning of the 1800s of people lost at sea. And then in 1881, this is something that stuck out to me. According to legend, a sailing ship of the Ellen Austin found a derelict vessel and placed a crew to sail the vessel to port. Two versions of what happened to the vessel are: the vessel was either lost in a storm or was found again without a crew. Lawrence David Couch, author of the Bermuda Triangle Mystery Solved, found no mention in 1880 or 1881 newspapers of this alleged incident. He did trace the legend to a book by Rupert Gould, The Stargazer Talks, published in 1943. The Ellen Austin did exist. A check from Lloyd's of London record proved the existence of Meta. Oh, of Meta, huh? Built in 1854, and that in 1880, Meta was renamed Ellen Austin. There's no casualty listings for this vessel or any vessel at that time that would suggest a large number of missing men were placed on board a derelict, then later disappeared through one website includes the alleged derelict vessel incident. It does find that Rupert Gould talked about the legend on radio in the 1930s. Likewise, the website traces the derelict story to a June 1906 newspaper story which claims a derelict ship incident took place in 1891. However, the 1906 story does not give a reference to where the story came from. So, I mean, this is just kind of like a weird story. And the fact that it's named Meta, also, I believe in the Hebrew, that's death, which is what Facebook is now, which is why I canceled the metaverse, the deathverse. So, you know, just kind of interesting. And I didn't really find any necessarily more correlations with the dates. I just thought this was interesting little look into all of these space missions. Here's these. This just looks so fake. So fake. I've seen footage of this looking like an actual balloon, this original one. Like the way that it lifts off. The NASA footage is... they make a lot of mistakes, we'll just say that much. But I mean, this is just a plane. It's just an airplane. And, you know, rocket launches go straight up for the amateur rocket launches, yet these ones are going around. So what they try to tell us is that these rockets go up to such high altitude, yet nobody ever hears this, you know, them breaking the sound barrier, even though they're supposedly going so fast that they start to fall around the Earth and just miss it. And that's what orbiting is. So the rockets orbit the Earth and then shoot out onto the moon and basically are falling to the moon. Did you know that? That they're actually falling the entire way to the moon? Yeah, yeah. They're able to fall the whole way to the moon and back. I mean, it's miraculous technology. Of course, that they had to destroy. It was this amazing technology they had to destroy. Oh, and another thing that I did think was noteworthy is that they haven't freaking done anything. They haven't even done anything in the last 20 years. I mean, look at this. Oh, yeah, we did all this stuff in the 60s. Well, we did a couple things in the 70s, maybe one thing, and then maybe, you know, one thing in the 80s. Sort of a couple of things in the 90s, maybe. And then, you know, just, you know, nothing for 20 years, even though we have the highest technology ever. This is why they had to hand it over to Elon Musk, because they were not doing good. They're like, we need a better robot that can, like, lie to the people better because our astronauts are making too many mistakes and they have too much emotion. They're giving us away. Okay, well, we'll just pick a guy that will let us turn him into a robot. Neuralink, Elon Musk, perfect. Perfect. Robots are much better liars than humans. Oh, wow, look at that. Look at the curvature on that. Wow. He had to put on his sunglasses that day because, you know, the sun was so bright. The sun was so bright, even though we're seeing a mostly lit side of the Earth, which would seem to indicate that the light is coming from behind this astronaut, right? Okay, so if we're seeing a mostly lit Earth, okay, then, I mean, the sun's got to be like over here, right? But look at this guy. I mean, let's take a look at the shadows. These shadows are coming from the bottom, from up. And it's like, this is just totally diffused light. This is not coming from a direct source. Can I, like, slightly zoom in? I can't seem to barely zoom in. It only either goes... Oops. Oh, and another thing I noticed... Oh, this one doesn't have it on it. The last astronaut I saw had gold around this, which meant it's the maritime thing. Oh, wow, you can almost see the task assessments. A. No Midal Ops. They crossed this one out. They got it done, huh? They didn't get the first one done, though, but they got the second one done. Whoop, mission success. Done. We didn't do the first one, but we did the second one, and check on mission success. Oh my gosh. Oh, I can't read it. Thost. See, what is this? Oh, I can't even read it. Training compilation. Wow. Yeah, look at that fully lit globe. Right? But yeah, the shadow's coming from the front of him. I mean, it's coming from the bottom up, right? That's why this is all in shadow. I mean, I'm surprised with how dark it is out there that it's just not more, the shadows aren't more extreme on his suit, you know? But, ooh, look at this locking system. Look at this. Did you know that these suits withstand the pressures of a vacuum chamber? Yeah, I don't know if you knew this, but NASA has a vacuum chamber that they designed to sort of try to test out some of their stuff. And they had to make it like 3 feet thick, I think, was how thick the walls are, to withstand the pressure of the vacuum of space, because it's like 0 pressure, right? So it's sucking. And this, so vacuum pressure, if you guys aren't familiar with vacuum pressure, they use vacuum pressure to like take all the air bubbles out of epoxy things, so it sucks everything out, and basically, like, think of like a food dehydrator, okay? It's sucking out all of the air pressure. It's sucking it out, okay? And that's the what we're next to, supposedly. We're sucking it out. And so yeah, so this is like all of this, no air in space, but you know, this guy isn't imploding because this suit is just, it's made of space stuff. I mean, gold is not comparable to space stuff because space stuff is pretty much just like a magic material. It's similar to tinfoil. Like if you look back onto the old lunar lander, it's totally made up of space stuff. So it can withstand the thermal heats and all of that stuff, but also still be as thin as tinfoil. So, you know, don't question the 56 million a day that you're paying us. We are working magic out here in space. Oh my gosh. Oh, while I'm here, I will show you guys, because this is just the most ridiculous thing. You know, if you want to debunk the globe, all you have to do is go to NASA. Just go to NASA and take a look at pretty much anything that they want to say. And you'll see. Here we go. Let's watch this for a second.
If I told you there was a man-made barrier surrounding Earth, would you think I was crazy? I believe this is a legitimate question, because you should think that I'm crazy if I tell you something like this. Anyone who tells you something like this is most likely lying to you. And this is exactly what NASA is telling us, believe it or not. They are telling us there is a man-made barrier surrounding Earth. I didn't believe it. I saw a funny story pop up on my news feed when I was on Facebook, and I thought, surely this is some sort of joke. There is no way that NASA would really say this. So I'm going to click on this link and do some investigating myself because this has to be some sort of hoax. Well, that's what I did. I clicked on this link here. I'm going to leave it in the description, and it will bring you to NASA's website, nasa.gov. And sure enough, the title says that the Van Allen probes spot man-made barrier shrouding Earth. Guys, this is their website. If you don't believe me, I'm telling you, click the link. This is not some scam website or fake news. I mean, it is fake news, but it's not a fake knockoff website. And as you read through, it tries to give you their excuse for this man-made barrier that's created by some sort of very low frequency waves. And if you don't know much about why NASA would make up this story and have such a funny lie to tell, okay, and you know, most people, like I said, if I went up to you and said this, you wouldn't believe me. But if NASA says it, oh wow, it's wisdom. Okay. Now, when you scroll down on this page and you look at the backstory, and the backstory, the reason they came out with this cover-up is, well, for one, they're hiding the firmament that they've been calling the Van Allen belts for a long time. That's why we can't go back to the moon. But there was some real researchers at the University of Colorado's Laboratory for Atmospheric and Space Physics in Boulder, and they were bouncing signals off of some barrier, and they thought, man, this is what seems like an impenetrable barrier surrounding Earth. And that's the firmament that's mentioned in the Bible, and a lot of people are now understanding that there is, in fact, a firmament. Okay? Well, NASA, after getting this information, goes, well, crap, scientists are actually figuring this stuff out. Okay, real scientists, so we've got to do something quick. And so the Van Allen belts are no longer working. So what they have to do is tell us there is some sort of man-made barrier, and it's impenetrable, as in we can't get through it. Yet we did in the late 60s, early 70s, and we haven't gone back, and we've lost all the data. Okay, so pretty sketchy, pretty funny. I didn't hear about this. You think this will be mainstream news, that there's a bubble around our Earth. Okay, you think that would be front page news, but I never heard about it until I saw the thing on Facebook letting me know that, hey, this is a viral thing here. And it should be viral. You should all be looking into this and figuring out why they're telling us such nonsense. Well, if you don't know or believe me when I'm telling you that there is a firmament and that's what this is for, I'm going to show you a really cool video that I saw that blew my mind when I seen a rocket for the first time, not launched by NASA, actually go at least 73 miles high and in a straight line. Now, I use the word straight line because if you've ever been a fan of NASA like me, you've watched some launches and the rockets seem to turn sideways and then eventually start going back down towards Earth. And I'm just assuming that's where space is. Kind of you have to go in a circle to get there. Well, every single rocket pattern that I've looked at from NASA is very similar. They all follow this rainbow-like pattern. Okay, it's really, really weird. Why are they going out over the ocean in this exact same pattern every time? Isn't space straight up? Well, that's what should be the case. Now, here's a funny little meme I came across. It says, NASA is firing rockets into the ocean. Shame if something should happen to the witnesses. And this isn't something I've looked into, but what if all the disappearances matched up with launches, and people saw where the rockets were going, and they vanished mysteriously because they were taken out? Okay, that's a cool conspiracy to look into. I've never looked into it. Maybe you could. But here is the video I was speaking of, where amateurs launched a rocket. And these aren't really amateurs in my book. These are professionals. And they launched a rocket, and again, it went in a straight line. And you're going to see why NASA doesn't launch their rockets in a straight line. Wow, have you ever seen a rocket take off that fast? I know I haven't. It seems like they take off in slow motion when you're watching the ones at NASA. I thought maybe it was some sort of illusion, but no, rockets can take off fast, and this one broke some records. As you can see, it is going way faster than any rocket you've probably ever watched. Okay, you're about to see why, again, NASA doesn't fire their rockets straight up into the air. They have to make them go out over the ocean in their rainbow pattern or rainbow flight path. And here's why. You're about to hear what this thing hits when it hits that man-made barrier. Listen closely.
It's a rocket.
Did you hear that? There's that man-made barrier, aka the firmament. Let's watch this with 2 camera angles now. This is what surprised me the most. Boom. Okay, I'm gonna pause it right here. This is a side view. What you're seeing here is the horizon. It is as flat as you would never think it would be. Okay, this is what blew my mind when I was trying to make fun of flat earthers, and they were saying, look here, we've seen the earth from really high, this is it. Okay, they weren't lying. I thought they were crazy. I really started looking, I didn't look into flat earth so that I could believe the earth was flat. I was actually going to make fun of people for believing such nonsense. And in reality, my whole world was turned upside down. I no longer live on the same planet, and earth isn't what we've been told by man. And I believe the Bible actually got it right. Okay? Shocker, but those crazy Christians were correct. And a lot of Christians don't even believe in flat earth. Okay? It's not a Christian movement. I thought it was some stoner or New Age movement. I had no clue that it actually matched up with the Bible that I'd read many times. Okay? But there's the earth from 73 miles up without using a fisheye lens. That's what you're going to get every single time. Okay.
Anyways.
Now, there's more deception coming. The whole man-made barrier story is the
Founded Earth Brothers, or FEB. Founded Earth Brothers channel on YouTube. They're great. They have a lot of really good proofs that they found, and a lot of really awesome biblical-based stuff too. So. Anyways, I just wanted to pop on here and show some of my research that I was doing. My kids are up, so I gotta go. I hope y'all have a wonderful morning. May the favor of the Lord be upon you.